To me, the most interesting story is the same interesting story that we started the year with, Colorado and Deion Sanders. And don't get it twisted. I liked the hire. I love some of what they've tried to do. I didn't love how they handled success. Hey, we told you so. We know what we're doing. We got this. It's easy. Didn't love the showing off of the bling and the watch, the look at me. Just go out and win football games and everybody likes you, respects you. Just go play. But they got their comeuppance. They lose 8 of their last 9. They end up with 4 wins on the season. Surprising, though, is not how they finished. Like, look, the Pac-12 is really hard. And you can sit there and go like, yeah, well, they lost to some of the bad teams in the Pac-12. Not the good. Yeah, but they got so beaten up. And they didn't have, somebody owes, I think Deion Sanders, they owed Tom Luganbill a letter of apology. Remember, Tom Luganbill was getting drugged early in the year because he said their offensive and defensive lines are bad. There's just no way they can stand up. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. I mean, look, they have 4 wins. Colorado State should have won that game 3 or 4 times over. Should have won that game. You can make the case that TCU, there were, I think, 2 red zone interceptions, 2 in the end zone by Colorado. If one of those doesn't happen, they don't win 3 or even 2 games. But they did. We bought in. We drank the Kool-Aid. We followed. We watched. And then we reacted. And now we have to do the same. So they had a mid-year play caller change. A guy named Sean Lewis had been a head coach, left his head coach position to be the offensive coordinator, obviously with the idea in mind that was going to springboard him to being a head coach at a higher level, at a Power 5 level. You had Tim Brewster, who worked for Deion Sanders and was also a tight ends coach, recruiting coordinator, and, of course, he had coached at Minnesota. He leaves the program. And then you have this mass number, what seems like, of big-name decommits. Coaches come and go. Nobody seems to care. But you start losing players, and you're like, wait, hold on a second. What's going on? I thought everybody wanted to go to Colorado. I thought Colorado was a vibe. It's not because of location. Okay? We can say it's because of money, but it's probably because whatever they promised didn't come through yet. And it doesn't mean that it's a final decision, right? Like, just like guys are decommitted from Colorado, they're decommitting from everywhere. It just feels more personal to Colorado because it's their guys. And not everybody that decommits, you actually wanted to stay. That's a big thing you have to understand about college sports. Not everybody who transfers out did you actually want to have stay. Matter of fact, most guys that transfer out, you didn't want to have stay. But when you're Colorado and we're told that if you're going to get us now because we got better players on the way, the question is there's been some big-name better players that aren't on the way. Now, does that mean they can't do it through the portal? It doesn't. Of course you can do it through the portal. We haven't had signing day. You can flip guys on signing day. You can get into the portal and fill some of these holes. And my guess is there's probably some players that told them they're coming. But when they told them they're coming, that's when Colorado was king of the football universe at 3-0, and everybody was flying in and falling all over themselves in order to be a part of the program. Now, it's like, ooh, yee, yikes. Right? Things a little bit harder. How many people took shots at Lincoln Riley and then they're sitting there going, hey, be easy on Deion Sanders, right? He's got, like, it's hard to flip. It's hard. And you know what it's really hard of? I'll use the real estate analogy again. Hard to live through a remodel. Right? We talked about flipping houses and that USC is a flipped house. Well, Colorado's a remodel. And it's hard to live through a remodel. Because if they redo the kitchen, where are you going to eat? Where are you going to gather? Where are you going to put your stuff? Like, eating out sounds great. Everybody, I'd eat out every day. No problem. I'll eat out. I get coffee in the morning. I know what to do for lunch. Like, no. You want at some point to be able to go into your refrigerator. There's always people in your house. Then sometimes guys just don't show up for like weeks on end. Things are undone. Sometimes they're not done right. Living through a remodel is really hard. Really hard. Even if you're like, okay, we're going to go and rent a house down the street and have a remodel, then you're in a rent house. Then you're like, do I unpack? Do I put up pictures in the wall? Does it feel like home? What do I do at Christmas? What do I do at Thanksgiving? How big a place? How much do I want to spend? I'm going to spend more than I want to spend in a remodel as well. But ultimately, is this going to be my forever home? All these Colorado's living through a remodel. And it's just anyone who's done it will tell you like, ooh. Yeah, buy a house that's already redone or just buy a brand new one. They're not perfect. You don't get to pick out everything, but just buy a spec house. Somebody else built it. Somebody else spent the time. It's going to be good. It's going to be fine. You can always put your own personal touches on it, but you know how it is, right? When you're doing a remodel, you're like, man, I want to do this thing right. I don't know if Deion's building it to be his forever home, but he's definitely building it so he feels like he can win, and that's harder than you think. Why else would you go from last week, Deion Sanders said, our school's Colorado's not an ATM. Right? This is a place that if your goal is to come in and play high-level football and try and win a championship and be a pro and get a great education and have a good time, this is your place. And then, of course, NIL will follow. Right? To this week, basically asking you to donate, what's it feel like? Well, Deion Sanders probably got on the phone with some recruits, and they're like, Coach, I love you. I'd like to go play there, but your NIL is not nearly what it is in XYZ. Which is the same thing as when you're remodeling a house. Like, man, we redo it. I want to redo it right. I take out this wall. Well, okay, you take out that wall, it's going to cost you more. Well, why? You're just knocking out a wall. Well, we got some electrical stuff. We got some plumbing stuff we got to redo. Don't get me wrong. In the end, it'll be better. There's a cost-benefit analysis to it. Colorado is the perfect example of college football in 2023. You go out and get a coach who comes in and completely changes how we look at things for about 3 or 4 months. And then you fall back and you're like, yeah, the thing was a complete mess. It's going to be a remodel, and you're going to have to live through the remodel. And like, ooh, I don't know, nails everywhere, people inside your home, don't have your kitchen for months on end. Plus, they're going to screw it up. Maybe they don't show up. Ugh. That's CU football.